Hi guys, AB here, bringing you a brand new video, and in today's video we are doing a 6 Samurai deck profile. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you'll know that I keep going back and forth with my 6 Samurai deck. It's almost like a really bad relationship, I guess, because I always, retire the deck, and then I always wind up coming back to this deck because I love my 6 Samurais. I did go to Noble Knights, and now I'm back to my 6 Samurai deck. So, and I think I figured out why I kept wanting to retire it, because it kind of was basically the same deck every single format with like very minimal changes. But this deck I made a lot of changes, and I'm really proud of this deck because when it comes to pendulum decks, this deck wrecks pendulum decks, and I almost never lose with this deck when I'm up against a pendulum deck, or a deck that uses heavy. It's got a lot of spell cards. I actually haven't tested this with monarchs yet. I haven't gone up against any, unfortunately, with this deck. So we'll get right into it. It's kind of weird though, because I just haven't gone up with this deck specifically against monarchs, like on DevPro or Dueling Network or anything, which is kind of funny. So I have some cards to help with that in this deck, and you'll see in a minute. But first off, the card. This is the only card you can make your 6 Samurai deck any way you want. But the only card in this deck that you absolutely need to run 3 of, no matter what, is Kagemusha of the 6 Samurai. His effect doesn't really matter too much. It's that he's a tuner. He's a level 2 tuner for the deck, and he's the card that you're going to search for the most with this deck. He's the most important component of the deck. The next most important component would definitely be triple 6 Samurai Kizan. Basically, if you have another 6 Samurai in your field, you just special summon him for free. And he gets a 300 attack boost if you have 2 other 6 Samurais on the field. But he's probably not going to stay on the field for too long, because this deck relies on the extra deck a lot. So he's there for your combos. The next card in the deck is 2 Elder of the 6 Samurai. This card is extremely important because you need this card to make Nichiria Beast. And it's very important to try to get into Beast if you can on your first turn, because it's probably the most important extra deck card for this deck, especially against pendulums, because if you get Nichiria Beast out, it shuts down their deck completely. They can't do anything to stop it. 2 Kaigeki. This card to me is not as good as Elder, because it's I'm more limited to what I can do with Kaigeki in the deck. And he's not an Earth, so I can't get out Nichiria Beast with it. So the next best card to get pretty much is Shien when you're going up against those kinds of decks, because it stops spells and traps. It's also almost better to go into Shien if you're going second, because with this deck I found you almost always want to try to go first, because this deck is super consistent on getting Nichiria Beast on your first turn. Now our one-ofs, we have legendary 6 Samurai Anishi. This card is amazing because you can bounce back your opponent's monsters to the hand, and definitely a great card to have in the deck. 1, the 6 Samurai Zanji. He's basically paired with Kizan for asceticism. And then we have the 6 Samurai Iro, and he's paired with asceticism for Anishi, pretty much. Or even Kaigeki if you have another monster on the field. But I normally never do that because there's no point, almost no point for it. So most people actually just skimp out on Iro completely, but I prefer to have him in the deck because it just makes it, in my opinion, a lot more consistent, believe it or not. I don't have Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai in my deck anymore. It's kind of unneeded, and I need to make some more room in the deck. So next up, our most important spell card, Asceticism of the 6 Samurai. This is pretty much your main combo dash searcher of the deck, in my opinion, because it searches out a 6 Samurai monster with a different name but the same attack, as a certain monster. So when I say it's like an asceticism connection with a card, like Iro and Anishi right here, because they both have 1700 attack, but they're different monsters, you can get them out and go into a rank 4 play pretty quick that way, for an opinion. But it's more commonly I use it with the Elder of the Six Samurai, with Kagemusha of the Six Samurai, because they both have 400 attack, they're both Earth, and that will get you right into your Netsuria Beast right quick. 3 Shian Smoke Signals. This is pretty much reinforcement of the army for the deck, except you only can search for a level 3 or lower, which is fine because you're normally going to be searching for the cards you need to make a rank 5 play. So then we have 3 Six Samurai United. Basically, every time you summon out a Six Samurai monster, this card gains a counter, maximum of 2. Then you can destroy it to draw draw to the number equal to the counters that are on it. So pretty much it's a pot of greed for the deck, and it's really not hard to use. Last 6 Samurai spell card is Double Shian Dojo. This is also another combo play. It also requires 6 Samurai monsters to be summoned, and for each one summoned it gains a counter. But for this one you can destroy the spell card and special summon a 6 Samurai monster from your deck that has the same level equal to the counters that were on it when you yourself destroyed it. And that's a really good card. It's really helpful, and trust me, you're summoning 6 Samurais probably at least twice per turn. So it's not hard to get 2 counters to turn on these, not at all. Next up, we have triple Upstart Goblin to help the consistency, because obviously we don't have triple Rhoda anymore, reinforcements of the army. So you really need to try to figure out how to make this deck more consistent. And that's what I kind of did when I was trying to come up with a new build for this deck. And that's why I'm really proud of this deck right now. And it's super fun, and it's really, really good. So maybe going down to 1 Rhoda was actually a blessing in disguise for me, because this deck is just even more consistent than it was back then. And trust me, this deck is super, super consistent. 2 Instant Fusion. Pretty much for Elder, Entity, Norden, as you probably saw from the beginning of the video. I only run 2 because I only have 2 in the extra deck, which we'll get to here soon. I don't see a point playing 3. I know a lot of people play 3 Instant Fusion to try to draw into it faster, but I don't have any problem with the consistency of this deck, and you don't always need the Instant Fusion. It's really great to have it, though. And another thing I found out about my build, at least, you have to be careful, because you pay a lot of life points for this deck, but you pretty much lock your opponent from doing most things, so paying the life points is worth it, but if you're careful, you can literally just get rid of all your life points. If you used all the monsters, spells, and traps in this deck that made you pay life points, you wouldn't have any life points left, so that's one thing I should stress you should be careful with. 2 of my favorite field spell of all time, Chicken Game, because I love this card. I'm sorry, I decided to try it out because it's a good card, and it's super, super, super helpful, and it's actually saved me a lot of games. So then we have 1 Terraforming. I play that instead of a 3rd Chicken Game because it's kind of like a deck thinner, and I don't really have a point. I don't see a point running 3 anyway. So the last spell I have in here is 1 Reinforcement to the Army. Obviously, it's a warrior deck. Why not run the 1? So now we have our traps. I run 1 Double-Edged Sword Technique. I'd love to run 2, but I don't know what to take out of the deck. I almost never actually need to really use Double-Edged Sword Technique. I just like having it there just in case. So yeah, 2 Fiendish Chain, because the one thing about this deck is that there's a crap ton of anti-spell and trap stuff. You can lock your opponent out of all their spells and traps very easily, very quickly. But monsters, on the other hand, is different. And that's what the deck kind of struggles with a little bit. So that's what I try to base most of my traps around, were the monsters, because, again, that's the main problem the deck has, is it doesn't protect you from monster effects. So next I have 2 Solemn Scolding, because I only have 1 Solemn Strike, and that's in my other deck, and I don't really want to keep taking out of the sleeve and then putting it in this sleeve, because they're 2 different color sleeves, and etc., etc. So I'm just going to keep the 2 Solemn Scoldings. but obviously Solemn Strike is a much better card. But this is still a good card. I don't ever have a problem not using it unless I don't have the life points. That's happened to me only one time where I drew into it and I only had 2,400 life points, I think. So it's still a really good card, and but Solemn Strike's definitely better. But everyone knows that card's going to get hit to at least 1 here eventually. Not soon because of the, well, I guess it could because of the emergency ban list, but probably not for a little while yet. Then we have 1 Solemn Warning because it's easy to get, and again, Solemn Strike's just overall better. Then we have our 1 Vanity's Emptiness. This card works really well against most decks, and it's kind of a card that's kind of dropped out of popularity, I've noticed. And I can see why, because overall Solemn Strike is probably a better card in my opinion. But I run 1 in this because this deck runs it so well. 6 Samurai run Vanity's Emptiness very perfectly. They're very good because it's pretty much a floodgate deck. It kind of locks your opponent from playing the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess, but I've always loved 6 Samurai, so. Now for the extra deck. 2 Elder Entity Nordens. Super good card. You can either go into rank 4 plays or level 6 plays, or just there's a lot of different things you can do with this card. It just depends on what's in your graveyard at the time, what you can do. I run 2 Legendary 6 Samurai Shien because it's an awesome card, and basically once per turn on both players' turns, negate a spell or trap card. So good card. Then you have Ally of Justice Catastor, another card I think that's kind of dropped out of popularity, but this thing really holds its own against a lot of decks, so I definitely want to run 1 because it can run over most monsters. Then we have 1 Naturia Beast. I almost want to run 2, but I kind of hesitate from doing that because I've never had to use 2. Once I get Naturia Beast out, I've never actually had it die and then have to get another one out. Maybe I'm just that lucky or something, but I only run 1 of that. And it's easier to actually get out Shien, so that's why I run 2 of those. So we got 1 Naturia Barkion to level 6, so it kind of locks your opponent out from their traps. You have Goyo Guardian because it's a level 6 pretty much with 2,800 attack, and even though it can steal your opponent's monster once it goes to the graveyard, it's mainly there because it's, to me, at least to me, because it has a high attack. Then we have level 9 Synchro, Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, because it's, if you can go into Trishula, why not have it? It's just too good of a card. And last but not least, our level 10 Synchro, Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree. I don't go into this too much unless I'm going up against Cosmos. But again, I haven't actually really gone up against Monarchs either, so, you know, we'll see with that. Now for our X-Seeds, I run 1 MX Saber Invoker because this can be a pretty good playmaker. It's the only rank 3 in the deck, so if you can do some combos with it, especially if you can't actually get your Kagemusha for some reason. Or even you can also go into this if you want to go into a level 6 or a rank 4 play, and you can get out your Kizan as well. We have 1 Heroic Champion Gandiva. Okay, sorry. I always pronounce the name wrong, but this card's really good against pendulums because most pendulums, at least right now, are level 4 or lower for the most part, and this stops your opponent from summoning monsters that are level 4 or lower, or at least special summoning them, so this is really good against pendulums, and then you have to have 2 level 4 warriors to go into it, so 1 Castel because it's really good, 1 Canagorgon, the Luminescent Knight, mainly for, this deck doesn't really have too many answers against Cosmos, so that's one of them. Then we have Gaga Cowboy because why not? There are a couple cards such as Heroic Champion Excalibur I really wanted to put in here, but I chose these over it because I feel like these are overall going to be more beneficial in the end. So, alright guys, thank you for watching. I really hope this video helped you with some of your ideas for your 6 Samurai deck, and I'm always open to suggestions to help my deck. So far, though, this deck's been really, really good, and it's been it's surprisingly to me that it's been doing so well against these what are considered top tier decks. So I'm like ultra happy about how this deck is actually running. So okay, again, guys, thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and you all have an awesome day.